So for today's video, we're going to be talking about this. How's it going? My name is Brian and I make all kinds of videos regarding fish keeping, filtration like this, and all kinds of DIY projects regarding equipment and whatnot. So if you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for future content. So first things first, what this is a K1 Kaldnes system. I'm utilizing a moving bed media to filter my aquarium. The reason why I went with this is because 1, it's self-sustained, 2, it's really good at converting ammonia to nitrite to nitrate, and 3, I think it looks the best when it comes to your type of filtration. Just look at it. I've used static bed filtration, trickle towers, mechanical filtration. I've also used chemical filtration. But after moving to a moving bed filter, I've never looked back and I've stuck with it ever since. At least for my main setup, I always use moving bed filters. So for the concept of K1 being that the whole sump is pretty much moving with media, there's no chance of dead spot or detritus building up in your aquarium. The pieces of K1 is pretty much plastic pieces. So here's how it goes. When you buy K1, it's going to come in a nice, neat bag, and inside you're going to see these little macaroni pebbles, ball-looking things. And you put it into your aquarium, and you're going to immediately think that your K1 is defective because it's not doing this. Don't worry, your K1 is not defective. It just hasn't populated with bacteria. When the K1 is populated with bacteria, that's when it starts to be buoyant, and that's when it'll start floating around your aquarium and start doing its job. But the process of having a bacterial colony colonize on your K1 takes a little longer than static bed filtration. For static bed filtration, whenever you're cycling, it typically takes about 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks. For cycling in an aquarium, I usually go with a bottle type bacteria, or I usually seed it with another aquarium's filtration, like this. And I'll place it inside an aquarium that I need to be seeded. And pretty much that will provide enough beneficial bacteria for the aquarium to start. I'll probably make a video about cycling an aquarium at another time, but today I wanted to focus on K1. So back to the topic, ceramic media or static bed filtration media is a lot easier for you to cycle because the media is standing still, and it's a lot easier for beneficial bacteria to colonize on surfaces that aren't really moving. So for bacteria to colonize on K1, it needs to be the strongest and the most young bacteria, the most healthy bacteria to survive on K1. The reason for that is the K1 pieces are constantly knocking into each other, pretty much creating a very hard surface for bacteria to colonize, at least on the outside. But the way that K1 is designed is it has a protective inner piece of the plastic itself. This is where the bacteria will live, and also the grooves around the K1 basically has a lot of surface area for bacteria to survive. If you're ever running K1 and notice that it's very clunky and it's very dirty looking, you don't have to worry about it, leave it alone, that's just bacteria. I actually don't think your K1 will get to the point where it'll be clunky looking because it's constantly cleaning itself off by running into each other. So I don't think you have to worry about a messy looking K1. This K1 that looks like this. You'll know when K1 is pretty much colonized when it starts to be buoyant and when it starts to develop an off-white color. When it's pure white, that means it's brand new and it hasn't been colonized yet. But when it starts to become off-white, that's when you know it's colonized and ready to go. And you pretty much don't need to service this portion of the sump. It's self-sustained, self-cleaning, and for an aquarium hobbyist like myself, this is very beneficial to me because I can spend less time cleaning this and more time cleaning my tank. So touching back to the topic of the conversion rate regarding how good K1 is converting ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. Being that K1 is really good at converting fish waste to the end product of nitrate, you're gonna have a lot of nitrate in your aquarium. But this is another reason why I have this guy here. So this box pretty much houses my pothos. Pothos and other plants in aquariums, either terrestrial plants or plants inside the water itself. If you have nitrates, your plants will consume them. That's why some people put plants on the top of their aquarium or plants inside their tanks. And sometimes you'll see some nano tanks with the label of no water change, but they're completely filled with plants because plants will consume your nitrates to a certain degree. Depending on how much plants you have in your tank, your plants will do its part by consuming nitrate. So let me bring you guys a little closer and I'll show you guys this system right here. So when I first started this setup, I had multiple pieces of pothos that was stuffed into this little box on my sump. Reason for that is I wanted to see which one was growing the fastest, and I was going to dwindle the pack down to about 3 or 4 pieces. So the bigger the plants get, the more nitrates they end up consuming. The reason why I dwindled the pack down is because my box is fairly small and I don't want the roots to be intertwined to the point where it chokes out another pothos. So for my system, I went from about 6 to 7 pieces of pothos down to 3. So here's a little look of what my pothos box looks like. Without the extra plants, it's a lot easier to see what's going on inside here. The main component of this pothos system is a little marina breeder box. So the marina breeder box is usually used for people that breed fish and need a place to house their babies in the same water system. So as you can see on the top of your frame here, you'll see a pipe. That pipe is connected to a water pump, and the water pump is pumping in water from the main part of the sump to the breeder box itself. And then the water fills up all the way to the top and flows down the bottom portion of the frame, which is the drain. Pretty much goes from one end of the breeder box all the way to the other end and provides enough nutrients for the roots to consume. Because of the high flow rate of the water pump, I use Teflon tape and hot glue to hold down the spout of the input pipe, just because I don't want it to shoot out and eventually shoot water all over the floor and pretty much ruining my whole setup here. The only issue that I'm running with this system is as the roots grow, it also contributes to a lot of detritus. The roots are pretty much overpopulating this box and creating a trap for detritus. So a lot of detritus builds up in this box. I've tried putting shrimp in this box, but they end up climbing out anyways and going into the sump. When they fall into the K1, it's pretty much game over from there. You'll catch them on the side of the walls of the sump, but they're pretty much trapped in there until you get them out. So every 2 weeks, I'll go into this box and pretty much do a little mini water change in this box and get all the detritus out and start all over again. But as the weeks go on, more detritus will build up in this little box, so I'll have to clean it up anyways. It kind of serves like my mechanical filtration to an extent, but it doesn't polish the water as much as polyfill does. So I'll go ahead and this is the only part that I service on my aquarium by cleaning out the bottom of this box. My pothos was pretty lush before. I had so much pothos in this box that it looked like it was overflowing. It may look like the pothos kind of withered away, but in reality, this is what happens to pothos when they don't receive enough sunlight. To solve this issue, I mounted a DIY light bulb that focuses on this section of the filtration system. It lit up all my plants that were here, and they grew great with that. Because I left the light on here, I was very concerned about algae building up on my tubes here. Some people online say that when you have pothos on your aquarium, it'll eliminate your algae. Obviously, I do have algae in my aquarium, but that's before this happened. So as you can see, my pothos grew from the bottom to the top to this window, and that was the plan. That was the reason why I had this sump placed right here underneath this window. I wanted the pothos to grow all the way up, and as you can see, as the pothos grows higher and higher, there's more and more leaves. Towards the bottom, there's no more leaves, just because the lighting up here is way better than lighting down here. So naturally, the leaves will wither away, turn yellow, and that's when you have to propagate and cut those leaves off so they can develop up here. Look at that. Eventually, the pothos is going to populate this window, and it's going to look amazing. So the plants up here are looking really good. Like, look how thick that stem is compared to down here. It's crazy. It's crazy how fast they're developing on this window, which is great because the more leaves I have up top, the more sunlight they consume, the more they grow, and the less nitrates I have in my system. Let me show you guys what it looks like from outside. That is how the pothos is looking. Can't really see it right there, but Yeah, they're growing, and they're growing big too. They're pretty fat, which is amazing. So if you're constantly like me thinking about different ways to add to your fish tanks and add to your filtration system, I honestly think Pothos is one of the best additions you can add to your tank. Just put a piece of Pothos in your hang-on back filter, put a little piece on your sump, and you can even stand some on top of your aquariums. Just put them in the water, the roots will develop, and that's it. And they'll pretty much start working from there. I can't dictate how much nitrates these guys consume. Just having it there, I know it consumes some nitrates, and knowing that it contributes to the well-being of my water quality, it's a great addition to your tank. And Home Depot only sells it for like $6 for a big pot. It'll be enough for all of your tanks in your house. I stand behind Pothos. I think Pothos is a great addition to your tank, and they definitely do their part and add a little bit of nature to your aquarium. So get yourself some K1 to convert that ammonia to nitrate, and then get yourself some Pothos to convert that nitrate to cleaner water. And the more Pothos you have connected to your system, the more nitrates it sucks out. I'm not saying that this technique replaces water changes, but it's a great addition to have, and it'll help you clean your water up. That's what I use for my aquariums. I hope you took this information well, and maybe try this out for yourself. Let me know what you think. Would you ever use K1 for your fish tanks, or is it kind of overkill? If you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you like this video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace, guys.